All right, what's up, everybody? Good to be back. We had a calling over this past weekend, and yeah, interesting results. We had an Azalea take down both the calling and the battle harden. Of course, the calling was on Brody, and so congratulations to him for taking that one down. Um, I, I I put Azalea up there. I think she's a good deck. I don't think it's too shocking that that happened. It is very unfortunate that it happened because I had every intention to bring Viserai to the battle harden. However, you can very quickly make the connection on how that could be a bad idea now, because with Azalea winning both the calling and the battle harden, there could be a situation where I run into the byproduct of people teching for Azalea, basically, in the form of warmongers, right? Um, so I'm undecided on whether I'm going to bring Viserai. Basically, I was like 100% going to do it. And then Azalea wanted to call. I was 100% in. I was like, we're doing it. We're sending it. And then I don't know if I'm going to let it shake me. I'm unsure, but we'll see. We'll see. Basically, a lot of people have been asking me why Viserai out of nowhere when I've kind of been down on him for so long. And if I'm being 100% honest, um, the honest answer is I'm having a very hard time finding a deck that I enjoy playing that is like a meta pick. I've played a lot of Guardian lately. I do not enjoy it at all. Um, I think KO's not fun. KO's okay. Um, I've been playing Hatchet Dory for a year and a half now. I like the deck. The problem is when everything goes to that play style, it's very boring, right? But if you're the only one doing that, then it's very fun, in my opinion. Um, so I like hate the mirror match and stuff like that. It just it's atrocious. Also, I'm in that situation where I feel very disinterested to put in a lot of work on something when Dromai is about to leave this weekend, right? We pretty much know with 100% certainty that she will be gone on Monday, basically, is when they do the check, right? So starting Monday, because she will win a Proquest somewhere. It will happen, right? And she should already be gone, but we're not going to talk about that. If you're a local, you know. If you know, you know. She should be gone already, though. And my bad. But yeah. So was gonna play Viserai. Might run into Warmongers, but I might play it anyway. Just depends on how I'm feeling. I'm gonna bring two decks, and we'll see what happens. But I will be at Battle Hard in Atlanta. If you're gonna be there, please say hi. What's up, Techlo? What's up, Jacob? Good to see you guys. It's awesome seeing everybody at events. It's my favorite thing about going to them. Do you think a switchboard is possible with an OTK sideboard for slow matchups? I don't. I know you want me to say yes, and you want me to show you how to do it, but if I'm being 100% honest with you, I don't think there is. I'm saying Smoke's right. Smoke's right. She's got to win too. She's gonna win too. We know that because she was averaging per week during RTN season. She was averaging 10 wins per weekend, and that's with half of them being draft. The ProQuest season, they are all classic constructed, so she should have a theoretical average of 20. So as long as she can do 10% of her theoretical average, she will LL, which I'm putting my money on it. But back to Teklo's question, I think you give up a little too much in the Dromai matchup if you invest in those slow matchups. Now, who did we just say is going to leave? Dromai. So I think on Monday, right? The answer to your question today is absolutely not. It cannot be done. I've tried it. However, on Monday, it is possible. It is entirely possible. And you can bet your ass is the first thing I'm looking into. That's for sure. And yeah. So we have Proquest season for those of you not going to Battleheart in Atlanta, which is the majority. I wish you the best of luck there. Let's go ahead and dig into what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to kind of share my strategy on how I tackle Proquest season and how I analyze it from a skill perspective versus the field, right? Because, and it's very different than like approaching a calling because you know who's going to be at the calling, but it's so wide open as far as like players. You don't know how to invest properly because you just don't know who you're going to get matched into, right? Whereas if there's 20 people at your Proquest, you know exactly what you are mathematically probable to get matched into, right? I would want to play traditional Vis, but the Warrior matchup seems so cursed with Dynamos blocking every mob's guy's breakpoint. Well, I have a strategy to break that in the aggro list, and I will get into that if you stick around just a little bit after I go over the ProQuest stuff. I will single-handedly, without a single sideboard slot, teach you how to beat the dual-wielding warriors with Viserai without changing a single sideboard. You just run the aggro 60, and whether they block you out or whatever, you kill them. I will break that down for you. It's a strategy that John Ho taught me probably, oh God, it had to have been a year and a half, 2 years ago, back when I was having some trouble with Oldham. It's an equivalent strategy that works very, very well. Have any of the part of the Misfell Heroes piqued your interest? I want to say yes, because they kind of have. The problem is I don't know enough about them. Like, the assassin, like, looks cool. I will never play Illusionist. Like, I played Dromai for one calling. It's not my thing. You know, whoever enjoys playing it, hats off to you, but it's just not for me. I can play it. I just don't like playing it. And I just feel like I'm playing Hearthstone and the mirror is atrocious. Although there is a lot of skill in the mirror. I'm not just discarding that, right? Just not my playstyle. Simple as that. So I like new. And I don't mind Ninja as a playstyle. I don't know how I'm going to feel about going all in on Crouching Tigers with Zen. If there is a Zen deck which is probably the first thing that I'm going to try, if I'm being honest, I'm going to try to build a Zen deck that has like a combo 60 and can sideboard into like a mid-range game plan. I'm going to try that. If I can do that, then Zen is probably the one that I'll spend more time on than all three. If you're looking for somebody to break Enigma, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not going to be here. Because I'm just not going to try. Simple as that. But I will be spending a lot of time on Zen and New specifically. And then also doing my routinely check on how healthy Runeblade is. So let's go ahead and get into the topic. I don't see why not. I just got the recap up here in case anybody's interested. But yeah, Azalea was in, Brody took it down. We had a Katsu, a KO. Shout out to Pudding, killing it. Dorinthia, Prism, Azure, double Prism, and Vespa was killing it, man. Other than that dominate, he was playing clean. He was playing clean. And I know he knows that. And here we had a Bolton. They got in the finals. That's really cool. And then, of course, some KOs, Victors, Kano. Just nothing crazy off the wall, right? But Azalea did take down both events, which is pretty Pretty interesting. Okay. Chat. We're breaking out the math. Okay? We're breaking out the... No, it's not math. You just... If you saw my older content, you know that I like to use this graph to kind of represent things. And I have kind of touched on this topic. So if you have... If you did see my stream like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I do apologize. Some of this will be a repeat from that, but not all of it. But the one strategy that I like to execute at specifically Proquest season, okay, because everybody knows that Proquest is kind of like win all or nothing. Hang on, chat. I am dropping frames for some reason. Give me 2 seconds, and I will be right back. Okay, I apologize for that, chat. Let me know if we are back. Just confirm everything looks good on my end. Just confirm with me, and let me write down my packets. That way we know if I lost any more. Just let me know if we're back. Sorry, I lagged there for a second. Okay, so like I was saying, ProQuest season, it's basically winner takes all, right? Everybody knows that. It comes down to if you get first place, you get the coveted invite, and then also the gold foil that's worth some monetary amount. And then everybody else, you do get like top 8 prizing, of course. But with that being said, it's like you're really there for one reason. And that's why this strategy really only applies to ProQuest season. And that is because, thank you for letting me know in chat that we're back. So this strategy works specifically for ProQuest season because it is actively just trying to maximize your chance to win the event. It's not trying to increase your average win rate. It's not doing any of that, right? What we're basically trying to do here, using lines, of course, is what I like to show it as, okay? Now, all we have here is a simple sine function. We have 2 sine functions that have been slightly manipulated. And I'll explain why I've manipulated them the way that I have, right? We're not actually solving anything. I just created lines using a function because I do engineering stuff, so I just know how to create a situation, right? And so each of these lines is going to represent 2 players, right? So one play, we're going to call the blue line will be you, the player that's trying to take down the ProQuest, okay? And the orange line will represent who you are trying to beat, right? This could be, let's say you have a 32 player event, and you know, this is like the average skill level of the top, I don't know, 4 or 5 players that always make it into top 8, right? You know who those people are. You know, we've all been in that situation where somebody walks in the room and you know you're going to have to work a little bit harder to take down the event. We've all been there, right? And so that's what we're going to do. Blue line is going to represent you, and the orange line could also be one player. Maybe you know that there's only one player that is really a threat to you taking down the event, right? That could be a legit situation, right? You just have to apply this to whatever your situation is. Is there one player that you really have to take down, or is there a group of 4 or 5, right? Now, what we're using the y-axis is going to represent the skill level that the player is at. Okay? So, if the line so the orange player, because he crosses the y-axis at 8, mean he's an 8 out of 10 player, or 80th percentile, or technically 20th percentile if you want to be factually correct. But he's an 80% level player, or 8 out of 10, right? And let's say you are almost a 6, a little bit above a 6, whatever. We're just using this as a hypothetical, right? Why is this line not straight up and down? And the answer to that question is we're not playing the game of chess, right? Every single game has variance, right? We know this. If we're being honest with ourselves, the game is heading into a more variance, or I actually retract that statement. I think that the meta is headed into a less variance state after Dromai leaves. That's my prediction. However, the game as a whole, they're trying to inject some variance to increase the entertainment value of the game. I think they've proved that. I think they've openly said that. I think Brian's openly stated that there needs to be more variance in the game because variance creates excitement, and I don't disagree in any notion, right? I 100% agree. So, basically, us as a player, what this line represents is that we have a skill level of approximately 6, 6.3, whatever. Not really important because we're going to change that. And then we're playing a little bit higher variance deck than, say, our opponent is, right? But we know we're outmatched by them because they're an 8 out of 10 player, right? If you are a 6 out of 10 player and you match up against an 8 out of 10 player and you both play very consistent decks, right? And we can show that by reducing this, right? If you play a more consistent deck and we manipulate the line to have, this is basically both you and your opponent playing Hatchet's Dory, right? Very low variance, right? You can go down to a 5 out of 10 because you drew a couple bad hands, but there's no like Mordred Tide into Double Revel into Ninth Blade. Hatch's Dory doesn't really have that high roll opportunity, right? It can a little bit, but not a lot, right? So theoretically, if two very low variance decks get matched against each other, this would suggest that the better player is going to win. I think everybody can agree with that, right? But that brings me to my point. And this whole point means absolutely nothing if you're not brutally honest with yourself and where you think you are as a player. Okay? Understanding this situation and saying, okay, I know I'm not the best player at my event. I know that the people that I have to go through to win the event are better. And it's very hard to put a mathematical percentage, but you just have to guess, right? And you have to come up with an idea of where you need to be. And why are we even going over this? The point is this should affect your deck selection. Because if you bring Hatchet's Dory and you know your opponent is going to play a very consistent deck, it's going to be very hard to win, right? If you're less skilled. But what you could do is bring a higher variance deck, and now you have the ability to high roll a little bit, and as long as they don't high roll with you, you have a chance. Basically, this integral above this, between these two lines, the area of is your win percentage, right? The area of this shape, whatever it is, almost looks like a guitar pick, is your chance to win. And then all of this is your chance to lose, right? Because we can't, they're the better player, right? That's the situation that we are simulating, right? That they are the better player, right? Now, let's flip this situation, right? Let's say you know you're the top two people at the event, right? So we're gonna use, in this situation, you know you're like one of the best people the second you walk in that are gonna be at the Proquest, right? Then the inverse kind of happens, where you need to play a very consistent deck in order to not give the weaker opponents the chance to win, right? Because the second you go to your line and manipulate it, right? Now this would be an 80% player playing a deck like, say, Viserai, right? Sure, they can come up here, but there's nobody up here, right? So all the win percentage that you gain above 9, you don't extract value from because there's nobody up here. Hang on, chat. It's happening again. 1409. Maybe it's not. Okay, we'll keep rolling. Let me know if we're good, chat. So the inverse is happening here, right? If you're the 80% level player and you're bringing a high variance deck, what you're doing is you're giving your opponents a chance to win where they otherwise would not, right? Now, let's take a second. Let's step away from the graph, right? Let's kind of analyze or just think about what was just stated, right? The main point of that is, man, I apologize, chat. Give me one more second to try and fix this. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and restart the router just to see. So I'll be back in exactly like 2 minutes. Let me refresh the chat real quick. Yes, I'm back. Just got to fix the chat. 1 second. 1 second. Wipe that. Then we reconnect it. Boom. Done. Easy. On the fly. I apologize so much for that. I really do apologize. Okay. Like I was saying, the point of that graph that we were talking about, right, is you want to realize where you are as a player in relation to your competition, right? And that's going to play a huge role in what you are going to pick for your deck selection. Now, this is assuming a couple things, if we're being totally honest, right? This is assuming that you have a couple options to pick from. Or if you want to dive a little bit deeper, it also can be in regards to not necessarily deck selection, but your strategies in certain matchups, right? Like, for instance, let's use the example that you are playing Guardian, right? And you know that some of the best players in the field are going to be on Hatchet Story or a very consistent deck like that. If you think you're going to walk in there with a bunch of sink belows and a very consistent flatline strategy, you're going to lose, right? However, if you understand that you need to high roll a little bit, you need to draw a certain combination of hands to really give you the chance to take that match down, you could say, okay, let me flip my strategy in this matchup and play a couple more pummels, or just not play on a long grindy axis that gives them the ability to eke out more value than me, right? Because I understand that they are the better player, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And then vice versa. If you are that better player, you really, really are going to want to reduce that variance and basically, not give your opponent the opportunity to outplay you, right? Or not outplay you, but just high roll you, right? So if you're an 80% level player, then if you play a very consistent deck, you can beat the 90%ers and you only lose to somebody that's 70, right? Whereas if you magnify and you play like a deck like Viserai, sorry, we did the wrong line. You play something along the lines of Viserai, well, now you're losing to the 6s, right? But now you beat the 10s. And then you take it another step further. What even high rolls more than that? Well, now you're beating people that don't exist. So this is completely wasted value, but you've opened yourself up to lose to the 5 out of 10 players, right? Which is not what we're trying to do, right? That is not the name of the game, right? So once again, I'm not trying to persuade you to play a certain deck or play something that you don't have access to. Like, let's say you only have access to warrior cards, right? Let's say you're Josh Lau and every card you own has the word generic or warrior printed on the bottom of it, right? Well, you would have to look at yourself and be like, look, I need to play the high rollest build of this hero that I can, right? Which would not be hatchets. It would be Dawnblade Dory. That has a much higher opportunity to high roll than, say, a hatchets build, right? Now, there is another level that goes into it, and that is like counter gaming and stuff like that. I'm just talking in very generic terms, right? I'm just telling, because I've been in that spot where I walked into a tournament and I'm like, man, I don't think I can beat that person, right? Or I felt like I needed something to do it. And this is how you do it. This is literally how you beat the people that you're worried about playing against, or vice versa. You have a bunch of people that you theoretically would have no business losing to. You don't want to increase the odds of losing to those people, right? If you're on the inverse situation. All of this goes out the window if you sit there and think that you're a 10 out of 10 player when you're not, right? So you have to be brutally honest with yourself, right? It's a very important piece of this. It's actually the most important piece to this. So I really would suggest that you look at that mindset. That's all it is. It's just a mindset. It's not any math. It's not anything like that. It's saying, look, where do I stand at a skill level perspective? And what do I need to tailor or adjust to increase the odds of me winning the absolute most? Now, if you're one of those players where you're like, I don't care, I'm going to play what I like to play, then fantastic. The only point of this little tip is just for people that are absolutely just their number one priority is to win, right? This is the best advice that I can give you. It gives you the highest chance to win, right? And you can actually do this same graph and replace the lines with variants, or they're currently variants, but you can replace them with like best deck, fringe deck, right? If you play the best deck, then you're up here and you don't have to get as lucky, or you can get unlucky and people still have to get lucky to beat you, kind of situation. Same theory applies to both situations, right? And that's basically the point that I wanted to make there, okay? So now let's flip it and let me just give you a couple things that I think you should be ready for in regards to like what you need to be ready for, like some tips on how to actually do the best. If you have built a deck because you're anticipating that Dromai is gone and you're thinking about bringing it the first weekend, I would highly recommend you do not do that. I know there's a lot of people and they've just been waiting to play this deck, like whether it be like, I don't know, Teklevossen or Riptide or what's a deck that like hard loses to Dromai? I'm drawing a blank, chat. There's a lot of them. Let me pull up a deck list. Not a deck list, but like a list of heroes, if you will. Or you're like trying to play like Assassin. Assassin is a fantastic example, right? You're trying to play like Azuri or whatever. Bringing it this first weekend while Dromai is still alive, I don't recommend it. I really do not recommend it. But the next weekend, have at it. Just have a ball, right? Like, that's the number one thing that I'd recommend. Now, what are some things that you need to have a game plan into? Azalea did do very well recently. However, that's not a deck that somebody can just flip to in a week and play very well, I think. I don't think it's the absolute most difficult deck, or even, I don't consider it to be anywhere near like Prism, Kano, or anything like that. I don't even think it's in the same ballpark. I didn't find Azalea that difficult. But it's still harder than average, right? And so I would not anticipate a high flux into Azalea, right? What I would anticipate is anybody that likes Dromai, is a fan of her, I guarantee you people will always take up the opportunity to have one last hurrah with a deck. I guarantee it. So if there's anybody in your local area that just has ever enjoyed the deck and they like have all the cards and you know that, they will very likely bring Dromai, right? As like one last hurrah, right? So this weekend, I actually anticipate a decent amount of Dromai. I don't think that's crazy for anybody. And this happening again? What is going on, chat? I don't know if we're going to get to the gameplay, to be honest with you, chat. Just keeps going in and out. Keep dropping frame. I'm going to put you guys on pause one more time. See if I can get this figured out. Okay, we should be good. Sorry about that again. I'm gonna give it one more try. But we might have to cut the gameplay short. I have to give Tekla what I promised him. So we're gonna go over the Viserai, thing after I'm done talking about Proquest season. But we'll see. We'll see if it holds up. So Proquest season, anticipate a lot of Dromai week 1. Second, once again, I anticipate any deck that has been like hard pushed down by Dromai. We're talking assassins, we're talking about Teklos, we're talking about any Hatchet's Dory, stuff like that will really see even more representation, right? Because they don't have to have like the Dawnblade kind of package or anything like that. So yeah, like that's what I expect to come out in week 2. And then basically week 3 will be dedicated to countering that strategy. So there'll be 3 evolutions. There'll be people putting up with Dromai one more week. I think we all knew that. And then we'll see all the Dromai suppression be relieved and a lot of assassin. I'm expecting Viserai to be one of the most represented decks in week 2 and week 3. Or maybe not the most represented, but perform the best. And there's Donkel using my Twitter picture and Nathan Crawford 69. Jesus Christ. So that is my anticipation for Proquest season. I don't think what happens in Battle Hardened Atlanta, unless the deck list is leaked, that is unique. Because Dromai is playable, I doubt that will happen. If we're being 100% honest. Yuki and the rest of Vancouver is coming to my store. See, and that's a great point, right? Like, you're going to have to beat Yuki in Classic Constructed. And that's a great example of what I was going over earlier in that, maybe bringing something that's a little high rolly, maybe it's your best option, right? If you think you can go toe-to-toe with Yuki on a consistent level, then hats off to you. But that's very difficult. I'll tell you that much. So, yeah, that's what I'm anticipating for Proquest season. Okay. So, what we can do is go ahead and let me spill the tea on and help Teklo out because he was having some trouble with the dual wielding warriors and Viserai, or just decks that operate a little bit slower in general. Okay. So this is just the list that I played on last stream. This is John's public list. He posted it in the Viserai Discord. If you want it, that's where it will be found. It's in the purple Discord, the Viserai channel, and it was posted directly after Pro Tour. So this is just his list, right? Nothing innovative here from me, just copy and paste from what he has, okay? But the strategy to beat any deck that is like maybe blocking you out, being a little fatiguey more than usual, or a deck that you cannot kind of rely on the on hits of your mobs to really get you there, right? And the deck has already kind of conceded the point that you made, Teklo, where these aren't going through because we're only playing 2 red shrills, right? If we thought these were getting on hit effects, we would be running a lot more. But the deck is already, like, the deck design, which John did an amazing job on. The reason I haven't had this conversation with him, but I'm assuming the reason there's not a 3rd red shrill is because the shit's not hitting, right? It's as simple as that. There's too much armor in the format. There's too many D-reacts. These literally just say, go again, right? Go again and start making my rune chants is basically what the mobs say. Now, Hatchet Dory on a value basis is going to outvalue on an average turn. You have higher peaks, but they have a higher kind of, average, if you will. So, what if they pivot into a fatigue strategy? Well, the way that you beat that is if you go down to the blues, and I'm assuming, once again, I did not, but when John taught me, the deck should have roughly the exact amount of kind of like if you have a blue attack, you have equal number blue non-attacks, and then the same thing for your yellow cards, right? So as an example, there are 3 yellow mobs, and then there's 3 ninth blades, right? That's kind of the idea. It's not going to be a perfect ratio, but they're going to be close. They're going to be tight knit, right? And so look at our blues. We're going to count the blue non-attack actions. We have 1 set of 3, 2 sets of 3, 3 sets of 3, and then 1. Okay? So that's 10 blue non-attack actions. And then we count our attacks. We got 1, add to this, that's 1 set of 3, and then 2, and then we have 2 here. So it's an 8 and 10 split. It's almost even, right? It's 1 card from being exactly even, right? And that's by design. And the reason for that is this card right here. So what you will do is throughout the game, you we'll even do a draw 4 scenario, right? So we're gonna say we're just going to I don't know, we're just gonna play a bunch of cards, or let's just go a couple cards in or whatever, and then we come to the realization that they are kind of blocking us out. That's the realization that we've come to. So what we're going to do is we're going to actively look for plays where we can pitch on one turn. We're going to pitch a non-attack action. Then the next turn, we're going to rotate the pitch is what we're going to do. We're going to play a turn and try our best to pitch whichever one applies. So let's say here we're obviously probably going to pitch. We're probably going to play the mob maybe on something we had in Arsenal or something like that. So we're pitching the attack. So then we draw the next hand. Okay. We know there's an attack action card on the bottom of the deck. So now we need to pitch a non-attack, right? So we're going to pitch this yellow mauve, right? And so that goes to the bottom. We play whatever turn, we maximize our value while making an effort to rotate the pitch. Okay? So now there's a non-attack at the bottom. So now we need to figure out how to pitch an attack. Okay? So in this situation, it's actually advantageous, or there's not a real way that we can accomplish that. And that's okay because we have cards like this, right? That shuffle the deck, become the Arc Knight. But what you want to do is you want to get down to a deck size of about 24 or something like that. And then say, okay, now I'm not going to shuffle the deck anymore. And you rotate. And you never let a Tome of the Arc Knight leave your deck. Right? And that's this card right here. Right here. And when you alternate pitch the deck, and you put these within 2 cards of each other, you just put a Mordred Tide in Arsenal, and then you go Tome, guaranteed hit, Tome, guaranteed hit, Tome, guaranteed hit. You have 8 cards, you fucking kill them. They could be at 60 life. Like, you just fucking kill them. Like, just off of the Mordred and playing those, you got 6 rune chance. You mauve into a 9th play. I mean, it just gets so ridiculous so quick. The damage just gets out of this world. Make sure that you're, it's kind of like the same skill set that came from kind of playing combo Viserai way back in the day. But let's say that they're not actively trying to fatigue you and they're just mid-ranging. That's played a little bit different. What you have to do is you have to look at your hand and say, does this do something crazy? That's crazy above rate. Because if you just pitch a blue, make a rune chant, and swing Reaping Blade, that's 1 damage. And that's 1 arcane and 3 physical. There's 0 way in that scenario, unless they have a stupid 2 block, which is very unlikely, that they can ever extract value from a D-React or their boots, right? Because Hatchet, Dory, and Cassai very rarely can use an entire hand. That's not how the deck is designed. The deck is designed to play a very mid-range game plan, and they can very seldomly effectively utilize all 4 or 5 cards on offense. Some hands, they can. But being conscious of how you present your damage, 1 arcane, a non-breakpoint, they don't get any value from their boots. They don't get any value from their D-reacts. They're just playing an average rate just like you are, right? And then you draw your hand and you're like, oh shit, here's my Mordred into Mauve, into Drawn, draw a card, deathly, whatever, right? Like you wait for that really explosive turn, right? Calling take it on the chins. Oh. I mean, okay. All right. Take it on the chin technically does fit that description. That technically does fit. They can play take it on the chin and block with the boots. But that's the only card where they don't waste value. Right? So basically, you're kind of using the draft strategy of like giving up tempo sometimes. Not always. But like just waiting for those big turns, right? You're never going to take any damage to go Mauve, Shrill, Reaping Blade, right? You lose those exchanges 100% of the time because Mauve into a red Shrill, we'll assume it's red, is 7. You make one in the back, that's 8, and then 3, right? That's 11. Whereas if they go equivalent with 3 cards, they go Blade Runner, Hatchet, Hit and Run, Hatchet. That's like way more value, right? So you're not really going to win those exchanges. That's the most important aspect. And you also make the defensive cards kind of brick up a lot because if you're not attacking them, they can't extract value from the Fate for Scenes and their Sink Blows or whatever the case may be. And yeah, so that's kind of like the idea. I hope that made sense. I really hope that made sense. But that's how I approach the matchup of anybody that's trying to like dwindle me down and then like, or straight up fatigue. That's something, Guardian is kind of like one of those situations. You obviously have to worry about the disruption. We don't like that, but it is what it is. Like you physically reaching over strangling it. Oh man, you're playing the wrong deck list. That's interesting. I don't know if you're referring to like the OTK or like Nebula Blade, but currently I think until Monday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, I think that Reaping Blade is the best build, and then I think that going OTK is probably the best after that. When are you going to try Dreadbore Riptide? Paul, well, it's funny you brought that up because I was playing it a week ago. I know about the deck, I know about a deck that is like not just Dreadbore, it's Dreadbore and Death Dealer. I think Riptide is like it'll be a lot better. When Dromai is gone. That's for sure. The only thing is it might get the Warriors are going to swap their Dawn Blades for Decimator Axe, and it's not going to get pretty. So I'm not saying that he's going to be great after Dromai leaves, but I think he will be better. So we'll just have to wait and see how because if you ever run into a Decimator Axe, you just lose the game. Simple as that. And if they adapt those strategies, then you're just toast. Simple as that. But I do have some respect for Riptide. Not the fatigue version, but the more aggressive leaning one. Yeah, so if you have any questions about, I'm about to start the Viserai gameplay, assuming the internet holds up. If you have any questions about very specific, Proquest situations or scenarios that apply to you, throw them in chat. I would love to answer. This could come in the form of, there's a bunch of Dromais and I have these two different decks that I can play. What would you play? Anything like that, throw it into the chat and I would love to answer it. I would love to answer it. When you gonna try Kano? Well, Justin, that's actually funny you said that because a week before that I was playing Kano. Chat, you're 2 for 2. I've really been trying to branch out. I've really been trying to branch out a little bit. That has been my goal as a player. I'm slightly motivated by the fact that I just don't like a lot of the meta decks right now, and so it is what it is. Okay, we have a Kano button. Let's go. I hate the fatigue Riptide deck because you just lose to other fatigue deck. Yep. I agree. It does a thing. I just don't think it's the most optimal way to play the deck. But it does a thing. When you're going to try Katsu, I think that currently Katsu could be the best deck in the... Come on. Is this Brainstorm Kano or they just run Waning Moon? This has to be Brainstorm, right? Come on. I don't want to do this. Is it? Or they just run Hope Merchant's Hood? Is that like the new hotness? What the fuck is happening? Do you think the support? Yeah, I thought it was Brainstorm too, but it doesn't. Oh God, yes, Scour. Oh God. Oh, okay, we got 2 out of the way quick. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding? Chat, this is why I'm worried about playing Viserai this weekend. Shit's dumb. I mean, at least we have a good hand to counter it. But jeez, man. I don't know how he sideboards, but God, I hope he has read the runes in here because that's what I really need. Okay, thank God. That's what we needed. Now there is a debate how greedy you want to be. Do you play the Mauve, then play the Reed, or do you leave yourself open? And I think the answer is you say yes. You just play that, you make the extra rune chant, and then you throw down the Reed. $15.66. Then we play the Reed. We do have an emergency button here, which is always nice. They just try to up and kill us out of nowhere. So we got one more Mungered, and we made the best of it. We did the best we could. Oh, he is on Brainstorm. Jeez. Okay, let me answer these questions. Do you think the support for the class will change Rune Blades a lot? It seems like they're trying to force us into a direction of like all the cards that they've printed for Viserai in the past like year, or Runeblade in general, has been like, hey, you should play this OTK-ish style deck, right? And so I think the devs are kind of trying to steer us in a direction that's easier to balance than like the whole Revel game plan and stuff like that. So maybe that has something to do with it. Historically, I've always gone undefeated when I take a net decked CC. I should try to implement. Oh yeah. It depends. If I think it really boils down. What do we do here? Do we have an extra card? The thing is, I don't know if I have an extra card yet. That's the problem. So let's do. I don't think we A-B this because we're going to rip the nuts off the drone. Sorry. Yeah, I don't think it's a great. When you have a deck that's like as strong as Lexi was, then yes, it makes perfect sense. Or like Starvo or something like that. Then the strategy makes sense. But if there's very little power difference between the decks, I think there's very little equity gained by that strategy. I've also seen other content creators say Katsu gets worse with Dromai rotating. I'm not sure I agree. It really depends. He obviously does have a good. We're just gonna give this. This feels so bad, but hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to play and read chat. It's like very difficult, and I'm lagging, which is not a good combination. PQ this weekend. My built deck choices are Dash IE, Rhinar, Phi, Max. Which should I choose? I like Rhinar out of those choices. Okay, that seemed to have improved things. Wow, that's night and day. Okay, I think we got the fix, chat. So sorry about that. Let me get caught back up in chat. Pure boost dash or hybrid? I think you always have to go hybrid to hedge certain matchups. We drew the Sonata. I don't hate it. It makes playing the Rune Flash free possible. Since we have the Mauve, I actually like paying into the Sonata a little bit. I don't think there's any downside of doing so. So let's just hit this real quick. Boom. Deal 2 Arcane. And then we can go, what? Rune Flash for free. Well, not free, but I had one floating. And then we can go try to bait some blocks out. Is the idea, like that. And then what we get the opportunity to do now is put the Mauvrion on this Rune Flash to get the break, since it has a breakpoint, right? This says give me Tunic or take 3, basically, is what this says. Although I didn't need to go again. I'm just trying to get his Tunic counter. Fi is possible. Okay, so I know the card guys were big on Victor for Pro Tour. What are your thoughts? I think he has a bad KO matchup. I don't think he's a bad deck. I think he just has a real problem in the KO. I really do. All right, we got the Tunic, so goal accomplished. Fi is a possible pick if you know your meta has 0 victors and a ton of Dromai. That is true. I'm biased because I took it to PT. I prefer aggro dash, but it's just straight. Yeah, exactly. Took Fi to RTN for that reason. I was joking. First time I took a net deck top 8 calling Briarless CC armor. I went 5-0. Gee, yeah, that deck was stupid good though. What are your thoughts on top 8 rounds taking forever? I made a whole tweet about that. How I think people not playing at a acceptable pace of play is the single biggest threat to the entertainment value of this game. And it's not even close. I think it literally has the... Like, there's a reason that if you look at sports, right? There's like, everything is timed. And it's for a very good reason. They didn't just say, this seems like a good idea. No, it's for a very, very good reason. Right? And the reason is to keep people engaged. That is the main purpose. So we're going to send this. Make 2 in the back, which will turn... We're just trying to get the 4 damage. Or the extra damage on it. And then we're going to go ahead and throw this while we have 2. So we have Spell Void protection while this attempts to resolve. Right. Even though he's on Brainstorm, I'm not sure. Okay, we missed, but we made 2 in the back, so that's okay. And then here we just go ahead and yeet it. There's no reason not to. We missed, but hey, what can you do? So I hate it, to sum it up. I think that people should play at a reasonable... The whole let the players think... No, that's like part of the game. Anybody, if you give them 24 hours to make a decision, they're going to come up with the optimal line. But that's part of it. Part of it is like being on a time crunch and coming up with the right move. Like that's the whole competitive aspect of it. Should it be compared to a football game? That's probably a little unfair. I can agree with that. But at the same time, I don't know. This is kind of tough. I think we go Mauve into Dread. Actually, we don't. What we do is we go ahead and play the Mordred here, because what that's going to do is this Dread Triptych is just going to go nuts, right? So we play this, which makes 3 in the back. So he has to give us a blue to stop the Arcane, to stop 2 generation. And that we do waste the go again, but that's fine. But if he takes any of this Arcane, we get 2 rune chance. If this hits, we get 2 rune chance. And we get 4 rune chance no matter what, which is Spell Void Protection. I was leaning towards Reinhardt. Yeah, I think Reinhardt is the way to go. Do hour to, well, you can't. The problem is you can't time the top 8 because there has to be a winner, or else you're not coming to a natural conclusion. And which is why I think which we saw it. We saw Brody get a warning for not maintaining a good pace of play, right? We saw that. So the judges are doing a great job. But it's all on the judges. The judges have to enforce the timely play. Simple as that. They have to enforce it. Here's a legitimate question for you. Do you personally think there's any reason whatsoever to play Cassai when Hatchet's story is around? Me personally, I don't. Well, I think after Dromai, you gained a lot of equity by playing Dawnblade Dory in the Dromai matchup. So if that goes away, then there's a discussion. But currently, no. Until Monday, no. And now he has to give me 2 cards, or else we get even more rune chance. Nine. So we just yeet it. Have 1 floating for the Reaping Blade. On hit, make more. We have all these rune chance on the stack, so we can pop for Spell Void if we have. I guess there's a window in between where he can respond. I'd love to see some of these Fab players play Hearthstone with 90 seconds. Yeah, exactly. And that's what made like watching Hearthstone actually entertaining, is the fact that, you know, there did not elapse a lot of time between plays, which kept it exciting. In soccer, the refs give yellow cards for slow play in the game to run the clock. Yeah, exactly. It's no different. Players just need to get comfy asking judges to help pace of play. Absolutely. 100% agree. Saying this is someone who's yep, I agree. When a judge pull out a stopwatch, you are a problem. Yeah, I mean that. You said it. I think Cassai is better into Victor than Dory. I agree. I agree with that notion. I'm specifically asking about post-Dromai meta. I think there is an argument. It's kind of like, what do you want to be better or worse into kind of situation. I don't think it's strictly Hatchet Dory is better. Currently, I think that is the case. We know we're playing this. The question I'm asking myself is, do we play this? And I think the answer is no. Let's see. What does Vis versus Victor matchup look like? I haven't played it too many times. I think against a Vis that's not comfortable, I would assume it'd be miserable for Viserai. However, if you know what you're doing and you're comfortable with the deck, I don't see it being a huge problem. It's probably not a matchup you want to be seeing. Cassai has some alternative power plays. Exactly. The problem is the power plays revolve around hitting. Whereas Dory's power play is every turn. Also relies on hitting. But it's every turn. It's not a card hitting. Cassai has some yeah. We are caught up in chat, finally. We did it. We did it. Okay, we have a very weird hand. What is he trying to do? Another whisper. I've never been a big fan of the raise an army strategy. I think it's valid, but I think all of the power behind Cassai is blood on our hands. I don't think it's at all. For slow play, I tend to give my opponent a heads up or a warning. That's actually one thing that I wish I would do a lot better is kind of like knowing when to. This is great. So what we can do is pick war, and then we'll throw the Deathly Duet, pitching the Shrill and the Tome, so we get both effects. That'll put enough pressure to get cards. And we have plenty of floating for AB. So this puts on pressure. It still leaves us sitting on Rune Chance for Drawn to the Dark Dimension. No, I definitely know it's an unnecessary evil. For sure. I'm sorry, but the play experience against you know who sucks ass. I don't know. It really screwed. So, Michael, I think it was Michael Jacuzzi or Jasker. He made a great point on Twitter to the tweet that I made. This was right after the 20K by the Realm Gaming. And he basically said that in the Swiss rounds, you actually get a competitive edge if you tank. Because it's like playing on a chess clock, but you're like stealing time from the opponent because your clock's not going to zero. Both of your times are going to zero. And if you take more of it, then you get a fundamental advantage, right? Was kind of like the idea behind it. And I was like, I mean, that he's not wrong. I'll put it that way. Like he's just not wrong. Simple as that. Okay, so we got a good play here. We got a lot of choices. What we can do is I like throwing the drawn to hide information, make him commit if he's going to block damage here. Right, and if not, we'll activate creepers and go in. Or if not, we have a bunch of resources to pitch for AB, and we're solid, right? But I'm gonna make him make a choice right here and now. Okay, so he took the AB, which means this now has go again. So we can activate this. Pitching this. We want to throw Mauve down into the drawn. Yeah. Yeah, that's the play. We got there. We got there. And actually, what I really like doing here is going. I like popping the quill hand here. That leaves us with one. Then I like sending this one, which has go again. Then we have the one floating, so we can go meet and greet for another one, which is a break point, which means one of those will hit, and then we can throw the drawn. Is kind of the idea. But where it currently stands, he kind of has to go here. Okay, so I think we should just win because we can send this, which has go again, makes one of the back. He can't cover this up, so it will hit. It'll make a rune chant, which makes this free. We throw it, we draw, and we have an arsenal. But yeah, like I was saying, it really comes down to in the Swiss round, you gain a competitive edge if you drastically use more of the clock. It's just a very simple premise that is just factually correct. Yeah, 95% of your games, it's not a problem. I think there's only been one case where I went to time with somebody and it was my fault. I didn't like push them enough. I'll admit that, and you know, it is what it is. And we eat this, which draws a card. Makes another rune chant in the back, which we like. And this actually just wins the game, so it doesn't matter. As soon as I switched, I haven't dropped a single frame. I don't know what's going on. Don't know what's happening. But we're winning. But we're winning. The looming doom. I'm not going to arsenal that card. All right, you got to kill me. Till 36 with no arsenal. Just good game etiquette. I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's something that I've struggled with the most as a player is like cuz like I don't have a heavy TCG background. Like, you know, going to US Nats was like my first event that was over 30 people in any card game ever. I sat down at the US Nationals, the first one that happened 3 years ago, and I literally did not know which way to pass the cards during draft. Never drafted a card game before, and so you know it it really I've never been in the situation where I had to like force somebody to like abide by something in a competitive environment. And so it's just something I've never done. I've never been comfortable with because I've never been in that situation. So the first 2 years, I would say I didn't make top 8 of the second US Nats because of that. I lost several games in callings that could have resulted in winning in situations, and just because I wasn't, I was either being too nice or was worried about having, X image of being mean or whatever the case may be. And yeah, it's something that I struggled with as a player. Now I'm getting better at it. There's only been 2 times ever that I have not let somebody take something back. And the first one was at the second World Championship. They attacked with a dust up, made the dragon, and then tried to attack with the dragon, and they never used Snapdragon Scalers, and they tried to activate it afterwards. I was like, sorry, bro, we were like way too far for that. If it was like as we were writing damage down and you were like, hey, I wanted to snap that, I'd be like, cool, man, like no sweat. I didn't let that one go, and then recently at the Pro Tour, a KO Mr. Trigger on a Might token, and I didn't let them take it. And it wasn't because of the person or anything like that. I'm just actively trying to work on that as a player. I'm trying to just practice holding my opponents accountable and stuff like that, because I think that you give up a lot of competitive edge if you don't. Simple as that. Like, if you ever play against Michael Hamilton, it's the perfect example. He is one of the nicest human beings on the planet, right? I'm talking Mother Teresa level, right? And just a really cool guy. Lots of banter if he's willing to engage in it, or if he knows you a little bit, he'll engage, like just all around a great experience in everything. But if there's ever a situation where it's like a missed trigger or something like that, he's like all business, right? And I'm like I want to play like that. It's as simple as that, because I think that is the optimal way to play. Simple as that. And I've just never been able to play that way, and I'm trying to actively work on it. So if you play against me in the near future and I don't let you have a trigger or something like that, I was like, that's why. It's nothing personal. It's nothing. I'm just trying to work on it as a player. I don't care if I win or lose. I just want the game to be over. Absolute sicko mode, Nathan. The dust up one could easily gain them an advantage, full knowledge that you aren't blocked. Exactly. But like we were like way like he had already made the dragon and tried to attack with the dragon. I was like, you don't have an action point. And he was like, oh, I was gonna snap. And I was like, nah. I was like, sorry, bro. No, can't do it. But he was super cool, dude. He understood. He was like, yeah, I was way past it. He was super cool guy. I think he was like the Swedish national champion. I think Switzerland, maybe. I don't know. He won one of those European Nats. Really cool guy. I wish I remembered his name. How late is late on a missed tunic trigger? So my rule of thumb is if they're like, if they've only made like an action, right? Like most of the time, I I don't think I've ever denied somebody a tunic trigger. I don't think I have. I've played card games for 25 years. I still struggle with that. It's not easy. Yeah, it's just something. I'm just like a super friendly guy, and I'm like having to train myself to be, you know, the highest level competitive, I guess, which goes against like every fiber of my being. Off topic question: is ALS getting banned next BNR? Well, it's interesting, right? Because I understand both perspectives, right? So it's a shitty card. It's shitty design. No offense to the devs, but anything with Spectra printed on it is just not. It does not belong in the game of Flesh and Blood, in my opinion. I think it operates way too far. Well, I guess not anything with Spectra, but forced Spectra just operates way outside the realm of anything that I think should be in the game. Ward is an amazing way to balance that type of mechanic and feel, right? And they've come to this realization too, because they haven't printed the word sense on a single card. The problem is if you banned ALS out of nowhere, the deck literally auto loses what, 7 matchups maybe? I'm not a Prism main, but I would assume that like I think he has exactly lethal. We should have activated this before. 19, it would have stopped 1. It would have been 18. Yeah, we would have lived at 1. I was too busy talking. Right? Because it would have came in for 1 less. No, it still would have been exactly lethal. But like, so in Visera has a good point, right? There are ways to break the loop, right? It's not that crazy. My only thing is, my argument against ALS personally is it's not a fun mechanic to deal with in the game. Let me give you an example, right? If somebody playing Lexi flips over Arctic Incarceration and gives you 4 Frostbites because they make one with the Lexi hero ability and then they play it to create another 3, right? That creates 4 rune chants. Or not rune. God, I got Rune Blade on my mind now. But it. Oh, this hand's kind of. Whew. This hand does something. Get that armor. So yeah, it basically. Do we rip this? No way. Do we? Or do we save it? I think Revel, you always play if you can play it because it's just such a high risk card. We'll just throw all the damage at him. But sorry, it's very hard to play Viserai and chat BNRs. It's not a fun interaction. Giving somebody 4 Frostbites in one instance with just a card and an action point is like sitting on the other end of that situation. That one interaction almost made me quit the game of Flesh and Blood as a Briar player. It literally almost made me quit the game. Me personally. Are we good? It's showing all good on my end. I hope everything's good. Yeah, everything's good on my end. But it's just not a fun interaction for the game is the problem. And I really do believe in that. So what can we do here? This is actually an interesting line. So there is a world where we make like almost the exact same play. We just go become here, throw that, revel. Or we could go get a Mordred Tide and kind of save it. I don't hate that idea. And then pitch this for another 3. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think we gain more by just blocking. Actually. We're going to play around Snatch here. Yeah, the reason I played around Snatch here was we have 2 options, right? I want to arsenal this card. That's my goal. And if the reason that we can conveniently play around Snatch here is we can pitch, make a Rune Chant Swarming Sword, and we get 3 value off of the Swarming no matter what. Or if he throws the Snatch, then we can just block with the Swarming and still get our 4 value from Become the Art Knight. Hope that made sense to everybody. Is the reason why I think playing around Snatch there is correct. And now we just do this. Send this. Get 4 value out of our 1 card, and then arsenal the other card. This is a hand of cards. Dishonor in 5? I mean, I guess you ran Fine Center. I guess it's not that crazy. Sure. All right. Yep, go get your salt. I don't care. Wildfire is only playable because of Kano ability. Yep. I would have been low enough that you could pitch to AB. I'd rather have drawn than swarming. That is correct. And the reason is for this play right here, mainly. So what we get to do, we have a couple options here. So we can play this. I think we play the Mordred Tide, pitch into Grasp, making this free. Then yeet it. He's going to take the arcane damage, which will turn this on. And that gives us enough to, or not take it. That's fine too. He's going to take arcane damage. I promise you that. We ripped a blue, so that's fine. I was going to, if we ripped like a juicy red, I was going to say we have Ironweed that is like the backup, if you will. But instead, what we will do is we will go and activate creepers and flash this in. Pitching this. Wait, oh, we don't want to pitch that. We want to go that into that. And one of these will hit, which will give this go again, and we can finish with a Reaping Blade after making 2 more in the back. Is the idea. Yeah. Drawn in normal Viserai, like the whole shrill mauve kind of build, the more mid-rangey variant with like Rosetta Thorn, I would say Swarming is a higher arsenal target. But drawn in this deck with like Mordred Tides and stuff like that, it's just such a high priority. It really is. And then we just yeet 5 more at him. And we have full tempo, more armor. He's blew his load. We still have creepers. This hand does suck. Next equals 2. Well, we lost our creepers, chat. Aura, we only have incantation. X equals 2. That makes 1. But we can't push. So I think the play is here. In case you didn't know, this is why you actually play Deathly Duet over Spellblade Assault. Is on the brick's turn, you can actually turn it into 8 value instead of just 6 all the time. It's nothing you want to be doing by any means, but and because we have 2 rune chance, we're just going to arsenal the rune flash because, you know, why not? All right, Art of Wars, we're going to block with this and then break it, draw a card. Question, do you think Max is viable at all or only Mech Max? I think Mech Max is the way to play Max. I think if you play Max V Max, then you're just playing a worse when Creepers is dead, I really don't like this card. And then we'll just get our new card when we see that. Okay, a lot more of that. That's fine. Kane's go again, but he has go against source, but it's not like snap, so do we block this out? I feel like we should. He is running like breaking point and stuff. This is tough. Art of War, if he has more go again, or if he has a go again problem, this immediately fixes it. He banished this, which means it could be a pitch problem. Yeah. Let's deny it. Using the term viable loosely since mech isn't too viable. Yeah, mech's in a rough spot. Combo blue for flick flag. You know, yeah, that's for sure what it is. It's just, back in the day they used to run like fine center but no other combo pieces. It's no different. It's no different. I'm gonna gamble here. Let him have it. Ultra punished. Holy shit. Wow. Ultra punished. So we have to force the hand. We can't give up full tempo. The mob doesn't matter. The mob's not doing anything. It has go again already. Oh man. Um I don't know whether to give up the whole hand or swing Rune Flash into Reaping Blade. So we know we're blocking that. The question is, do we just go ahead and stop the card draw? I think the answer is yes. Hope for a weaker turn. That's not really a weaker turn. This isn't doing anything. Sure. Yeah, I'm just getting dunked on. Let me get. There's so much in chat. So much in chat. Alice says take stances against poor play experience wins in the past. Yeah, I think that maybe he bricked. Either that or he has 2 lava bursts. Okay. This isn't doing anything. Okay. I was seeing if there's anything I could grab with Become, but I don't think there is. Nothing that comes to mind. All right, we just gotta block it out. Art of War. Yep. GG. GG. All right, chat. I think we played a little sloppy there because I was really focused on both games. I think I died with cards in my hand in the Kano match. I don't know if I AB'd. It was so bad. Definitely could have won the Kano one if I would have activated the Spell Void earlier. And but I was just like clicking the 0 and chatting with you guys. That one, I think I just took a risk on that. What is it? The Draconic Draw card, whatever that one is. Let me get caught up in chat real quick. The band Hard Cross Straps and Blitz. Yep. Same time. ALS loop. If it comes online past like turn 5, often not even be enough, which is fortunate because you are forced to sit there. Yeah, and I've actively been told, and ALS loop is one of those things. This is just a piece of advice if you ever play against a Prism. If you ALS loop or your opponent ALS loops you, do not concede on the spot, because there is a situation, if you're not familiar with how the loop works, they could run out of deck and therefore run out of cards to put into soul, which is what lets the angel trigger her ability. And basically, there is a situation, depending on deck count, life count, and what board presence is there, to where they can fatigue themselves doing the loop. So if they demonstrate the loop, don't just concede. Unless it's like the very beginning of the game. See what happens is the best advice I can give. Because also, by definition of the rules in the game, they're supposed to execute the win con before time runs out, which should be part of developing your strategy, right? Generally want to Arg Smash be banned? Arg Smash? As a perfectly fair replacement in smashing performance. It's just soul crushing versus max dash IE with no counterplay. I mean, I think that's like the check valve for like, isn't that the check valve for like Tree Frog Dash, for like Fatigue Dash? If nobody can actively destroy the items without it being an on-hit effect, don't you run the risk of having like just Turtle Dash everywhere? Letting Skeleton Vis run wild and blitz was a weird move. I agree with that. I loved playing it, but it was degenerate. Yeah, I think you guys are kind of missing the point that a win con that takes 30 minutes to resolve is not good for the game. I agree. Well, I mean, the fact that it takes 30 minutes, the point is it has to be done by the time's conclusion. The question is, so like, this is my stance on it, right? Is like, if they're adding variants to increase the entertainment value of the game, whether it being watched or played, right? You have to also ask yourself, certain interactions, do they have a negative play experience, right? And what do I mean by negative play experience? Well, I would describe that as like a Yu-Gi-Oh situation where you literally sit down and watch your opponent play the game. That is, if Flesh and Blood ever gets anywhere, which I think the mechanics do not allow it to, it just is literally the worst experience in the world. And I think that, uh, yeah, I don't know. I know there's a lot of Prism fans out there, but that first go at Prism was such a design whiff that, like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh man, I really don't like. Illusionist is some of the hardest things to balance in Flesh and Blood because it operates on like a completely different axis than 90% of other decks. But the problem is, like, I don't know. Do we think the game would be better if Illusionist did not exist in the game? I mean, that's an honest question. And as somebody that dislikes the class, I see the value in having it because it does kind of punish dirtly strategies. And if you were to not have Illusionists in the game, that stuff could get out of control. And, you know, I see the argument, right? In that it has its place. The real question is, could the devs design something that's not illusionist that solves the same problem? And the answer is probably yes. But I think Dromai and the first version of Prism were not good for the game. That's my opinion. But I think if you play it at the highest level, it's a fair mechanic, the Illusionist players. However, at the Armory level, like just playing against Illusionists, not understanding why you're losing, and you just get dumpstered for like 40-0 or something like that because you just don't understand what's happening, is a very frustrating kind of experience. And I think it's a very risky aspect to have in your game. I think the new Prism is a very good when Dromai's gone, if it gets out of hand or not. But like, it is a better attempt. I will give them that. And I know Enigma is going to be way better because she focuses around Ward, which is fair. But we'll see. We'll see. AL Slope includes. Can't have it both ways. ALS doesn't say. You get to take no game action. It says put something in your 80 that stops this. What if you have none? You're still missing the point. I mean, isn't ALS basically the same thing as Wildfire? If you... Oh, it's actually not, right? Because when they play Wildfire, you instantly die. Whereas ALS, you have to watch your opponent execute something for 20 minutes. I don't know. I'm trying to look. I don't think it's an unbalanced thing. I just think the argument is not on whether it's too powerful or not, but the argument is basically, is it a fun play experience? Is it a net positive play experience in the game? I think that is a valid point. If you have none, then you concede the prison matchup. Yep. If you have no answer ALS, you still need to play the game out. I think it's perfectly valid to force the prison player to play the game out. A lot of people might see that as kind of like a dick move, but I mean, you have to execute the win con. Me, if I counted their cards in deck and came to that realization, I would probably concede, but I wouldn't look negatively on anybody that wouldn't. It's very gatekeepy to new players. Absolutely. Kevin, you You said it better than I could. You have options available in generic. Just because you don't want to play them doesn't mean they don't exist. That's true. Maybe Avalon can get banned. Well, if you ban Avalon, you ban the loop, and the loop is literally Prism's only win con in like 6 or 7 matchups. So if you break the loop in any way, no matter what card is banned, you turn Prism into D tier overnight. You really do. Now, if the community comes to the conclusion that the card is shit design from a playability standpoint, like a not fun interaction, is the hero not being viable a valid argument to not pull the trigger and get it out of here? That's a conversation to be had. Why should we ban anything? Well, sometimes you got to. Sometimes you have to. I have zero issue as the Prism with my opponent requiring that. Yeah. I draw my LA, make me execute the loop when I was down 20 cards on him. That's fine. I still killed him, but he was correct in doing it. Yeah, 100%. Mechano cast Wildfire, you don't instantly concede because you might not have the damage to kill. Yep. Exactly. The entire Illusionist class, just negative gameplay loops, incredibly polar. Yeah, the polarization, I think, is where the argument kind of like focuses in at. It is really like, and I had this debate with Brian Gottlieb on Twitter about talking about like, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I can find it. But I basically just brought up, how I think that the 90-10 matchups is kind of, see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Yeah, this is the conversation that Brian and I had on Twitter about people saying that everyone seems to hate heroes I want to play, and they're talking about like fatigue strategies or wizard or illusionist, right? Kind of like what we're talking about. And my point was, if 90-10 matchups like Teklo, Dromai, Oldham Prism didn't exist, do you think people still feel that way? And some of it can be summed up to get good. I made that perfectly clear. But some matchups just leave a player feeling hopeless. And we ended up having a long conversation about nature of TCGs have agency over matchup spreads. And he's 100% correct. Like you don't want everything to be 50% because that becomes very boring very quickly. My argument was just 90-10 is a little, a little too much, if you will. And we just talked about that for, I'll let you go find it. It's on March 18th if you want to kind of dig into it some more. But we had a good conversation about it. And I think it was pretty productive, actually. So, if anybody's interested in checking that out. But all right, everybody. Let me skim over chat one more time, and I think we're going to call it. I remember drawing. It's not a winning strategy in Fab. Yep. Fab being a lose-lose kind of sucks, but I understand why it exists. I think it's the correct decision because if you make draws at all positive, people manipulate the game states to increase the odds of drawing when they think they're going to lose. So, No, Nathan, we need to argue about things we have no power over. Oh God, that's too good. That's too good. All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. Sorry about the internet issues if you had to sit through that. I really do apologize for that. But I'm going to hop off. And if you are going to be at Battle Hard in Atlanta, I'll see you there. If not, good luck at your ProQuest. I wish you the best of luck. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments. I'd love to answer them. I'll get to them when I can. And I will see you guys on there.